Mark returns home in the rain, carrying groceries for his wife Sophia. But through the open window, he hears her words. She is leaving him for a new life with a popular blogger. Instead of anger, a cold determination awakens in him. Mark is not just a teacher with calloused hands. He has a secret that Sophia never knew. And now it's time to reveal the cards. Mark Garcia trudged through the Miami downpour, a soggy grocery bag clutched in his calloused hands. The weight of milk, apples, and Sophia's favorite almond chocolates tugged at his arm as he neared their bungalow. His old pickup sat parked a block away, its engine too stubborn to start in the rain. A sharp laugh cut through the storm, stopping him cold outside their open kitchen window. Sophia's voice, clear and biting, spilled out. "I'm done, Mom. Mark's sweet, but he's just a teacher. I need more, someone like Carlos, who can make me a star on his podcast." Mark froze, rain soaking his jacket, dripping onto the cracked sidewalk. His heart didn't race, it slowed, as if his body already knew what his mind was piecing together. Sophia's tone carried that familiar edge, dismissive, like when she'd scroll through influencer feeds, sighing about their basic life. "He's holding me back," she continued. "Carlos says I've got what it takes for a lifestyle channel. I can't drag Mark along when I'm building my brand." Her mother's voice crackled through the phone. "I told you, Sophia. He's a nice guy, but not for you. You need ambition, connections." Sophia laughed again, lighter now. "You were right. Carlos is helping with an apartment deposit. I'm telling Mark tomorrow." The bag felt heavier, but Mark didn't drop it. He set it gently on the porch, careful not to make a sound, and walked back into the rain. His workshop, a small shed behind his brother's place, smelled of sawdust and varnish. Sitting on a half-finished cedar bench, he let the silence settle. No anger surged, no tears came. Instead, a cold clarity washed over him, sharper than the storm outside. His grandfather Juan's words echoed in his mind. Watch, wait, act decisively. At 38, Mark was about to prove he was more than the simple teacher Sophia saw. Morning came, and Mark stood in their kitchen, brewing coffee like any other day. Sophia walked in, her steps halting when she saw him. She'd expected him gone, off to teach history at Miami Central High. "Morning, Soph," he said, voice steady, pouring a second mug. "Coffee." She nodded, eyes scanning him warily. "We need to talk," she started, gripping her phone. Mark slid her mug across the counter. "About you leaving me?" Her jaw tightened, the mug pausing halfway to her lips. "You heard, caught your chat with your mom last night," he said, sipping his own coffee. "Came home early." Sophia didn't flinch or deny it. She straightened, meeting his gaze. "Then you know I want a divorce." Mark nodded. "I agree. We're after different things." Her eyes flickered with surprise. She'd braced for a fight, for pleading. His calm threw her off. "You're okay with this?" she pressed. "Completely," Mark said. "You can have the house, the car, everything. Even your mom's china set." Sophia's brow furrowed. "Everything." A faint smile crossed Mark's face. "I just want my tools and clothes. Clean break." She hesitated, then nodded, relief softening her posture. "That's generous. I've got a lawyer. We can wrap this up fast." Mark drained his mug, setting it in the sink. "Text me the details. I've got to get to school." As he grabbed his keys, Sophia called out, "Mark, are you okay?" He turned, offering a small smile. "I will be. We both will." The door clicked shut behind him, leaving her staring, confused. The rain started again as Mark drove to school, a light drizzle mirroring his mood. Miami Central's parking lot was sparse. He was early. Sitting in his truck, he watched raindrops streak the windshield. 8 years of marriage, undone in a 5-minute coffee chat. It should have hurt more. Instead, relief settled in, like shedding a heavy coat. His classroom, lined with history books and maps, waited in darkness. He flicked on the lights, the familiar space grounding him. Grading papers kept his mind busy. Each red pen marked a small anchor to normalcy. First period brought students, their chatter filling the room. Lily, a sharp 11th grader, lingered at his desk. "Mr. Garcia, you okay? You seem different." Mark smiled, deflecting. "Just tired, Lily. Ready to tackle the Cuban Revolution?" She didn't push, but her eyes lingered, intuitive as always. Teaching carried him through the morning, each lesson a reminder of why he chose this life. In the classroom, he was Mr. Garcia, mentor, guide, not the husband Sophia had dismissed. During a free period, his phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from Sophia, plus a text. "Lawyer's office, Thursday, 3 p.m. Confirm?" He typed confirmed and pocketed the phone. No need to drag this out. The decision was made, the path clear. But as he prepped for his next class, a quiet resolve grew. Sophia thought she knew him, a small-time teacher with rough hands. She had no idea who Mark Garcia really was. And soon, she'd find out. Mark Garcia settled into his brother's beachside cottage, a weathered place with creaky floors and a view of the Atlantic. He drove his rusted pickup to work, letting colleagues whisper about his faded shirts and unshaven jaw. At Miami Central High, he threw himself into teaching, guiding students through lessons on the civil rights movement with a passion that hid his unraveling personal life. Whispers followed him, divorce rumors, pitying glances from staff, but Mark kept his focus, correcting essays with steady hands. After school, he met with Juan's lawyer, Mr. Ramirez, at a quiet office overlooking Biscayne Bay. Ramirez slid a leather folder across the desk. Your grandfather's trust is ready to activate, Mark. The Garcia Foundation, millions in assets, properties, and charitable projects, is yours once the divorce finalizes. Sophia has no claim. Mark flipped through the documents, numbers blurring. Real estate in Coconut Grove, stock portfolios, a cultural fund supporting Miami's arts. Juan planned this, Ramirez added. The name changed to Garcia 5 years ago. His idea, to shield the estate. Mark nodded, recalling his grandfather's advice when he'd first sensed Sophia's restlessness. Keep it quiet for now, Mark said, until the papers are signed. Back at the cottage, Mark's phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Lawyer's meeting moved to tomorrow, 2 p.m. Be there, he confirmed, then turned to his workbench, sanding a cedar chair he'd been crafting. The rhythm steadied him, each stroke sharpening his resolve. Sophia thought she was walking away with everything. House, car, freedom. She didn't know the empire waiting in the wings. The next day, Mark arrived at the lawyer's office, a sleek glass building downtown. Sophia's attorney, Victor Salazar, greeted him with a firm handshake and a sharp smile. Sophia sat across the polished table, her posture rigid, eyes avoiding Mark's. Let's keep this simple, Salazar began, passing a stack of papers. You're waiving all claims to the marital home, vehicles, and joint accounts, correct? Mark scanned the documents, his expression unreadable. That's right. Sophia gets it all. I keep my personal items and retirement account. Salazar raised an eyebrow. No alimony? Mark shook his head. None. Sophia shifted, her voice sharp. You're sure, Mark? This is permanent. He met her gaze, calm but unwavering. I'm sure. Let's move on. Salazar pushed another document forward. One more thing. Ms. Garcia is pursuing new career ventures. We'd like a clause ensuring you won't claim her future earnings. Mark's lips twitched, almost a smile. Carlos's podcast must be lucrative. Fine, I won't touch her income. And she stays clear of mine. Salazar nodded, satisfied. Done. Mark signed each page deliberately, then stood. We good. Salazar extended a hand. We'll file tomorrow. This should wrap up in weeks. Mark shook it, then left without a word to Sophia. At school, Mark's students noticed his quieter demeanor. During a lesson on the Bay of Pigs, Javier, a perceptive junior, lingered after class. Mr. Garcia, you seem off. Everything all right? Mark forced a grin. Just life, Javier. You ready for the quiz? The kid didn't push, but his concern lingered in Mark's mind. Teaching was his anchor, the one place where he was still Mr. Garcia, not the man whose marriage had crumbled. Yet even here, he felt the weight of his double life. Teacher by day, heir to a fortune by night. That evening, Ramirez called. The trust conditions are clear. Once the divorce is final, the foundation transfers to you. Sophia's lawyer has no grounds to challenge it. Juan's terms are ironclad. Mark leaned against the cottage railing, the ocean's roar in the distance. Good, but I want to stay low-key until it's done. Ramirez agreed. Wise. Though the foundation's gala is next month. As the new head, you'll need to appear. Mark hesitated, then agreed. I'll be ready. Days later, Sophia texted again. Can we talk? Not about the divorce. Just us. Mark ignored it, focusing on a new lesson plan about the Freedom Riders. But her message gnawed at him. She'd sensed something. Maybe his calm, maybe his lack of fight. He pushed it aside, driving to the cottage under a starlit sky. In his workshop, he uncovered an old photo of his grandfather, Juan, standing proud at a charity event. You knew this day would come, Mark muttered, tracing the frame. The trust wasn't just money. It was power, legacy, a chance to do good. Sophia had no idea what she'd walked away from. At school, the principal, Dr. Elena Torres, pulled Mark aside. You've been distracted, she said, her tone kind but direct. Anything we can help with? Mark admitted the divorce, keeping it vague. It's amicable. I'm staying with my brother for now. Torres nodded, her eyes sharp. Your teaching hasn't slipped. In fact, the kids say you're more engaged. Just know we're here. Mark thanked her, a pang of guilt hitting him. He hated the half-truths, but discretion was key until the trust activated. Late that night, Mark found a letter in Juan's old files, tucked inside a locked drawer. The key, sent by Ramirez, fit perfectly. Juan's handwriting was bold. Mark, if you're reading this, you've shown the patience of a Garcia. The foundation is your duty now. Protect it, use it, make it grow. Mark folded the letter, his path clearer than ever. Sofia's betrayal had set him free, not to destroy her, but to reclaim his name and purpose. The gala loomed, a stage where Mark Garcia would step out of the shadows. And Sofia? She'd soon learn the cost of underestimating him. The divorce papers were signed, and Mark Garcia felt the final thread of his old life snap. He taught his classes at Miami Central High with renewed focus, guiding students through debates on the Cold War, his voice steady despite the chaos Sofia had left behind. After school, he drove his battered pickup to his brother's cottage, where he sanded a mahogany table, each stroke a meditation on what came next. The Garcia Foundation's trust loomed closer, its activation tied to the divorce's finalization. Sofia, oblivious, had already moved into an apartment with Carlos, her podcaster boyfriend, certain she'd won by taking the house and car. A week later, Mark's phone buzzed with a news alert from the Miami Herald. The headline hit like a spotlight. Mark Garcia, heir to millions, to lead Garcia Cultural Foundation. The article detailed the family's legacy, decades of philanthropy, art endowments, and real estate across South Florida. It named Mark as Juan Garcia's grandson, poised to steer the foundation into a new era. By noon, his inbox overflowed with messages from colleagues, old friends, and curious reporters. Students whispered in the hallways, piecing together their teacher's hidden identity. Sofia called that afternoon, her voice shaky. Mark, is this true? You're that Garcia? He leaned against his truck in the school parking lot, the sun beating down. Always was, Sofia. I just didn't advertise it. She stammered. We need to meet. Please. Mark paused, weighing her desperation against his resolve. Fine. Tomorrow, noon, Ocean Drive coffee. He hung up, ignoring the flood of follow-up texts. Her panic was palpable, but Mark felt only a distant curiosity about what she'd say. At the coffee shop, Sofia waited at a corner table, her posture tense, fingers twisting a napkin. Mark slid into the seat across from her, ordering a black coffee. You wanted to talk, he said, his tone even. She leaned forward, voice low. I messed up, Mark. I didn't know who you were. I thought you were just, she trailed off, catching herself. A nobody teacher, he finished, eyebrow raised. Her silence confirmed it. I'm sorry, she said finally. I got caught up with Carlos, his promises. I want us to try again. Mark sipped his coffee, letting her words hang. You left because I wasn't enough for your dreams. Now you know about the money, and suddenly I'm worth keeping? Sofia flinched. It's not about the money. I loved you. I was confused, listening to my mom, to Carlos. Mark shook his head. You loved the idea of something better. That wasn't me. She reached for his hand, but he pulled back. The divorce is done, Sofia. So are we. Her eyes glistened, but Mark stood, leaving his coffee half-finished. Good luck, he said, walking out into the humid Miami air. Back at school, Dr. Elena Torres, the principal, called him into her office. The Garcia Foundation reached out, she said, her tone probing. They're offering a grant for a history program. New resources, field trips, the works. They want you to lead it. Mark kept his face neutral. That's generous. I'll look into it. Torres studied him. You're full of surprises, Mark. Just don't let this distract you from teaching. He nodded, promising to stay focused, though the Foundation's gala was now weeks away, demanding his attention. That evening, at the cottage, Mark opened a safe hidden in Juan's old desk. Inside was a ledger detailing the Foundation's assets, galleries, scholarships, community centers. A note from his grandfather read, Lead with purpose, Mark. The money is a tool, not the goal. He closed the ledger, his mind racing. The gala would be his first public step as the Foundation's head, a role Sofia never imagined him playing. Her betrayal had freed him to embrace it. Sofia didn't let go easily. She texted again, insisting on another meeting, but Mark ignored her. Then, a call from her lawyer, Victor Salazar, came late one night. Ms. Garcia believes you withheld information about your wealth during the settlement, Salazar said, his voice sharp. Mark stood on the cottage deck, waves crashing below. I disclosed everything under Mark Garcia, my legal name, during the marriage. The trust wasn't mine until after the divorce. Salazar pushed. She's considering legal action. Mark's voice stayed calm. Tell her to check the trust's terms. My grandfather's lawyers were thorough. Salazar sighed, conceding defeat. I'll advise her, but she's not happy. The next day, Mark prepared for a class on the Cuban Missile Crisis, but his thoughts drifted to the gala. Ramirez sent details, a black-tie event at the Miami Art Museum, attended by city leaders and philanthropists. Mark's speech would announce an education initiative, channeling millions into schools like his. He drafted his remarks, focusing on impact over flash, honoring one's legacy. A text from Sophia interrupted him. I deserve a share, Mark. You can't erase 8 years. He deleted it, his resolve hardening. She'd made her choice, and now he'd make his. At school, a student, Maria, lingered after class. Mr. Garcia, is it true you're some big-shot millionaire? She asked, half-teasing. Mark chuckled. I'm still your teacher, Maria. That's what matters. She grinned, but the question lingered in his mind. The gala would expose his dual life, teacher and heir. He wasn't hiding anymore, but he wasn't ready for the spotlight either. As he locked his classroom, a call from Ramirez confirmed the trust's activation. You're officially the head, Mark. The gala's your stage. Mark nodded, staring at the ocean from his truck. Sophia's world was about to unravel, and his was just beginning. Mark Garcia stood on the deck of his grandfather's oceanfront villa, the Miami skyline glinting in the distance. The divorce was final, the Garcia Foundation now fully under his control. He spent mornings teaching at Miami Central High, guiding students through lessons on the Vietnam War, but his evenings were consumed by board meetings with the foundation's trustees. Mr. Ramirez, Juan's lawyer, sent daily updates, properties to review, grants to approve, and the upcoming gala at the Miami Art Museum. Mark polished his speech, a plan to fund history programs in underprivileged schools, his first major act as the foundation's head. Sophia's texts grew frantic, alternating between pleas and accusations. You hid this from me, Mark. I deserve better. He ignored them, focusing on a restored oak desk in his workshop, a project that kept his hands busy and his mind clear. At school, rumors swirled. Students asked if he was really a millionaire. Colleagues offered cautious congratulations. Dr. Elena Torres, the principal, pulled him aside after a staff meeting. The foundation's grant came through, she said, her tone warm but curious. You're doing big things, Mark. Just don't leave us yet. He smiled, promising to stay until the school year ended. A week before the gala, Mark met Ramirez at a private bank in Coral Gables. The vault held Juan's final gift, a sealed envelope with a key and a note. Mark, this unlocks the villa's library. Your legacy waits there. Mark drove to the villa that night, the key heavy in his pocket. The library's oak door creaked open, revealing shelves of first editions and a locked safe. Inside, he found journals detailing the foundation's history, decades of quiet philanthropy, and a deed to the villa, now his. Juan's vision was clear. Use the wealth to uplift, not to flaunt. Sophia's lawyer, Victor Salazar, called the next morning. She's pushing to reopen the settlement, he said, irritation lacing his voice. Claims you misled her about your assets. Mark stood in his classroom, grading papers between periods. The trust wasn't mine during the marriage. She got what she asked for, house, car, everything. Salazar sighed. I've told her the trust's terms are airtight. She's grasping at straws. Mark ended the call, unfazed. Sophia's greed was her own trap. The gala arrived, a glittering event at the Miami Art Museum. Mark arrived early, reviewing his speech with Ramirez. Trustees greeted him, impressed by his teaching background and plans for educational outreach. As guests filled the hall, politicians, artists, donors, Mark scanned the crowd, his nerves steady. Then he saw her. Sophia, uninvited, slipped through the entrance, her presence a calculated move. She approached him near a sculpture, her voice low. Mark, we need to talk. I made a mistake. He stepped back, keeping his tone firm. You shouldn't be here. Leave. She grabbed his arm, desperation flashing in her eyes. I know I hurt you, but we can fix this. 8 years, Mark, doesn't that mean anything? He shook her off gently. It meant something to me. Not to you. You chose Carlos. Her voice cracked. He's nothing compared to you. Please, give me a chance. Mark signaled a security guard nearby. This isn't about second chances, Sophia. It's about choices. Yours are made. The guard escorted her out as she protested, her exit drawing curious glances from guests. Mark took the stage minutes later, the crowd settling into their seats. Good evening, he began, his voice clear. As the new head of the Garcia Foundation, I'm honored to carry forward my grandfather's legacy. Tonight, I'm announcing a new initiative, funding history education in every public school in Miami-Dade County. Applause erupted, and Mark outlined plans for teacher training, museum partnerships, and student scholarships. The speech ended with a standing ovation, trustees nodding in approval. Afterward, Ramirez found him by the bar. You handled Sophia well. She won't be back. Security's on alert. Mark nodded, sipping water. She's chasing a fantasy. Always has. A trustee approached, praising the speech and offering a board position for a local education nonprofit. Mark accepted, his focus shifting to the foundation's future. Sophia's interruption was a footnote, not the story. Later that night, driving to the villa, Mark's phone lit up with a voicemail from Sophia. You humiliated me, she hissed. I'll fight this, Mark. You owe me for those years. He deleted it, pulling into the villa's driveway. The ocean stretched dark and endless beyond the property. Sophia's threats were empty. Juan's trust was untouchable, designed to protect the Garcia legacy from opportunists. Mark stepped inside, the library's silence grounding him. He opened one of Juan's journals, reading about a grant that saved a community center in the 1980s. This was his purpose now, building, not destroying. At school the next day, students buzzed about the gala, some having seen clips online. Mr. Garcia, you're famous, Maria teased, holding up her phone with a news headline. Mark laughed, redirecting them to a lesson on Watergate. Teaching remained his anchor, a reminder of who he was beyond the wealth. But the foundation's work called louder each day. He submitted his resignation to Dr. Torres, effective at semester's end. I knew this was coming, she said, smiling. You're going to change lives, Mark. Just don't forget us. He promised to prioritize Miami Central in the foundation's grants. As Mark left the school, a text from Ramirez confirmed the gala raised $1 million for the education initiative. Sophia's name didn't appear in any messages. She was fading, a shadow in his rearview mirror. The villa's library waited, its journals full of plans Juan never got to finish. Mark would carry them forward, not for revenge, but for the kids who'd benefit from a better education. Sophia had bet against him, and she'd lost. Mark, though, was just getting started. Mark Garcia stood on the dock behind his grandfather's villa, the Miami horizon glowing with the last light of sunset. The Garcia Foundation was now his to lead, its resources poised to transform schools across the county. He'd spent his final weeks at Miami Central High teaching with fierce dedication, guiding students through lessons on the Civil Rights Act while planning the foundation's next steps. His resignation was official, but Dr. Elena Torres convinced him to stay on as a guest lecturer, ensuring his classroom legacy endured. A courier arrived at the villa with a letter from Sophia, her handwriting sharp on the envelope. Mark hesitated, then opened it, finding a single page. Mark, I'm sorry for everything. Not just leaving, but for never seeing you clearly. Carlos is gone. His crypto schemes collapsed. I know I don't deserve you, but I wish you happiness. He read it once, then tucked it into a drawer with Juan's journals. The words stirred no anger, only a quiet acknowledgement of closure. Sophia's choices had carved her path, and Mark had no interest in revisiting it. At school, students buzzed with excitement over the foundation's grant. New textbooks arrived, and a field trip to the History Miami Museum was scheduled. Maria, ever curious, cornered Mark after class. Mr. Garcia, you're changing the game for us. Why didn't you tell anyone you were loaded? He chuckled. It's not about the money, Maria. It's about what we do with it. She nodded, inspired, and Mark felt Juan's pride in that moment, a teacher's impact amplified by his new role. Sophia's lawyer, Victor Salazar, made one last call. She's dropping any legal claims, he said, his tone resigned. She knows the trust is untouchable. Mark stood in the villa's library, flipping through a ledger of past grants. Good. I wish her well, but we're done. Salazar sighed. You played this smart, Mr. Garcia. Not many could have. Mark ended the call, his focus shifting to a proposal for a county-wide scholarship program. Sophia's threats had evaporated, her leverage gone. The foundation's board approved Mark's education initiative, allocating millions for teacher training and student resources. He met with museum directors and local officials, securing partnerships to bring history exhibits to schools. At a board meeting, Ramirez handed him a file one had compiled years ago, details on Sophia's ambitions, her pivot from nursing to chasing influencer fame, and early signs of her affair with Carlos. Mark scanned it, unsurprised. One had seen through her long before he had. He closed the file, locking it away. The past was settled. The future demanded his energy. A text from Dr. Torres arrived, Miami Central's first grant payment cleared. Kids are thrilled. Mark smiled, replying with a promise to visit soon. He drove to a community center in Overtown, where the foundation was funding a new youth program. Kids there greeted him with high fives, eager for the history workshops he'd planned. This was the work one envisioned. Real change, not revenge. Sophia's betrayal had freed Mark to embrace it fully. One evening, Ramirez joined him at the villa, bringing news of the foundation's growing influence. "The press is calling you Miami's quiet philanthropist," he said, handing Mark a Miami Herald article. "They're right," Mark replied, setting it aside. "No need for flash. The work speaks." Ramirez nodded. One would have approved. He always said character outlasts wealth. Mark agreed, his mind on a new grant for rural schools. The foundation wasn't just a legacy, it was his purpose. Sophia's final move came via a social media post, spotted by a colleague who forwarded it to Mark. She'd launched her lifestyle channel, but the comments were brutal. Chasing fame didn't work out. Huh? Carlos had vanished, his podcast fading into obscurity. Sophia's polished videos couldn't mask her struggle. Mark felt no satisfaction, only a faint sadness for the life she'd chosen. He unfollowed her account, cutting the last tie. At the villa, Mark finalized plans for a history fair, inviting schools to showcase student projects. He worked late, sketching budgets and emailing partners. A storm rolled in, rain pelting the dock where he stood, phone in hand. Ramirez texted, "Board wants you at a national education conference next month." Key speaker. Mark confirmed, energized. The foundation's reach was growing, and he was ready to lead it. As the school year ended, Mark visited Miami Central for a final lecture. Students packed the room, their questions sharp and eager. Dr. Torres watched from the back, smiling as Mark connected the Montgomery bus boycott to modern activism. After, she handed him a plaque from the faculty, honoring his years of service. "You're always welcome here," she said. Mark thanked her, promising to fund a new library wing for the school. Driving back to the villa, Mark stopped at the beach, the ocean calm after the storm. He thought of Juan's note, "Lead with purpose." Sophia had seen only a teacher with rough hands, never the man carrying a legacy. Her loss had clarified his path. The foundation's work, education, community, history, was his future. Mark stepped onto the sand, the stars bright above. He was free, not from anger, but from the weight of a life that no longer fit. The next chapter was his to write, and he'd make it count.